Hi, boys and girls. So yesterday in writing, you planned out your story on your story planner, right? You made sure that you had a problem, a main character, a setting, and then at least 3 events. And in the event somewhere, you solved the problem or gave it a solution, right? And we're basing this story off of hopefully something maybe that really happened to you, because if it did happen to you, then you are going to be better at writing about it, right? But we're changing it up a little bit to make it fiction by making up a different character or changing pieces of the story, because real writers actually do that. So we're almost ready to put it all together to make our book, but I think it'll be a great idea for us to plan out a beginning. Okay, and so I do not have a page up here right now that I want to use. I thought that I had it, but I do not see it. So I'm just going to tell you, we are going to be adding a great beginning or a lead to a story. Okay, so some good ideas are, like, here's a few examples. Let's kind of look at these. Some great beginnings could be like in a fairy tale, once upon a time. So if your story has fairy tale type things in it, like princesses or knights or dragons or something, yeah, you could start with once upon a time. My book is not like that. My book is more like, I would say realistic fiction, except now I have added a talking owl in it. So mine's fiction, but I'm not going to use once upon a time because it doesn't match my story. So most of the rest of these kind of talk about the time, like the setting, the time and the place that the story is happening to kind of set the mood, right? Like one spring day, or on a dark and stormy night, or on a planet far away, or deep in the forest, or under the deep blue sea. And here's one that's kind of simple. There once was a... So let me try out a few of these, right? I could start by saying, there once was a... Let's see, would I say an owl? There once was a dog who got lost during a storm. I could say that, but I feel like that kind of gives away most of the story right away. Mine did not happen on a spring day, so I'm not going to use that. On a dark and stormy night fits mine perfectly because mine did happen during a storm, okay? On a planet far away, no, that doesn't fit. Deep in a forest, yes, I could make that work, because even though my story that really happened to me didn't happen deep in a forest, I have an owl in my story, and he could be deep in the forest and he could hear the person crying about their lost dog, right? I could make that work. Under the deep blue sea definitely does not make sense for my story. So I can choose from these, or I can use these to kind of give me some ideas, okay? So in order to kind of really pick a good, strong one, I'm going to look back at my story, right? So look at what I even started with. My very first sentence here on my first event says there was a storm. So clearly I'm already wanting to start with that. So I kind of like on a dark and stormy night. But I need to add more, right? I'm not just going to say on a dark and stormy night. Nothing, right? I'm going to add to it. And so what I started to say is that Owl heard a lady call for her lost dog. So I can almost already tell that my first event could kind of become wrapped up in my lead here, okay? So let's try that really quick. Sorry, there's announcements going on in my background. So I'm going to head and try to plan out down here like a lead. So I'm going to give you guys a place to on like, maybe you could just write it on a piece of paper and keep it in your collection with your writing, okay, if you have like a notebook or something. So I'm going to go ahead and say, on a dark and stormy night, on a dark and stormy night, comma, Owl heard a lady cry for help. Ooh, it gives part of it, but not all of it, right? On a dark and stormy night, Owl, and I'm going to capitalize Owl because that's kind of going to be my character's name. Owl heard a lady cry for help. And there we go. Okay, so I have written my lead. So today you're really only writing one sentence. You can write it on a piece of paper and take a photo of it. If you put it on Seesaw, that's fine, but I don't want you to lose track of it, because next week we're going to be putting all these pieces together, and if it's on Seesaw, you might not be able to find it in order to add it all back together. You should be able to, but it's also kind of nice just to have it all on paper. So just regular paper, keep it in a safe place. Plan out a lead. Remember, here are some ideas. Once upon a time, one spring day, there once was, on a dark and stormy night, on a planet far away, deep in the forest, under the deep blue sea. They are all good ideas. They have the ... because you're going to add more to it, just like I did, right? On a dark and stormy night, what happened? Owl heard a lady cry for help. And then I'll go on to tell the story of how maybe Owl flew closer and heard the lady crying for her lost dog, and how Owl felt bad, right? And I could include some character traits about Owl there. And then I can talk about Owl's search, and then how he finds the dog and brings him home. And so I can wrap up my whole story really nice there, okay? We'll plan our closing at the end, but I think we're gonna go ahead after we have our lead, and we will do that probably on Monday. Go ahead and build our story. All right? So finish up by adding a lead, and let me see it either with a photo or you typing it. And that's all you need to do today, but you do need to make sure it fits in with the rest of your story.